Hello and good morning, and thank you very much for spending your time with us today and learn about the private 5G market. Today, I would like to share three things with you. The first thing is I want to share our insights into the private 5G market, why enterprises are looking for private 5G. The second thing on the agenda is I will share with you our approach to 5G, how we are leveraging Fusion Core and Azure Private Edge Zones to provide a 5G edge solution for this private 5G market. And number three is I will hand it over to Rob, who is going to walk you through a very simple experience of how to bring a 5G network online, starting with the cloud and then getting on the edge. So let's start in the beginning. Why is private 5G important and critical for the enterprises? And the answer is very simple. It's all about real-time data processing to maximize the business value. The way we are looking at this market is in three categories. The first one is automation, which really is about capturing machine-to-machine interactions to really automate anything from factory floors, transportation, and it really relies on a very reliable, dedicated data flow so that these machines can operate to the specs that they are built for. And they absolutely need very low latency communication to ensure that they run safely. The second category is around telemetry, which is all about data collection and capturing. And for the enterprises or the people in IT or security to use that data to secure and safeguard their assets. This category may also include certain things like low latency voice communications for first responders, for safety industries, which is essential for them to do their jobs right. And finally, one of the biggest trends is the adoption of AI. And one of the most interesting applications for AI we see is everything around human interaction. So wherever there is video interactions, messaging, we see a lot of interest in enterprises being able to respond and interact with human users to provide them better customer experiences. So this could be in the retail area, in the entertainment area, campuses, healthcare, where they can supplement human staff with AI-driven bots to provide a better user experience. In the end, in the conclusion, is all these use cases depend upon providing low latency access to data so that the enterprises can use their applications and provide real business value, whether it's more inside looking or to provide better user experiences to their end users. Here are some examples that we see through our customers and through our channels as some of the verticals who are working on different types of interesting applications, everything ranging from Industry 4.0 to defense and military applications to retail warehouses. This is just a small sample. Obviously, I have not captured all the verticals, but we do see the demand for dedicated networks being out there. In fact, it's a very interesting time in the industry because we see that the applications and the business case for private networks already exist and the technology is behind. Typically in our industry, we are used to the reverse where technology comes first before people figure out what to do with it. So we are really excited about this industry. So the way I would summarize this is enterprises really see the pain point to adopt 5G. What's interesting also, we see that the governments are also further ahead in many of these initiatives by offering enterprise spectrum. Like in the US, we have CPRS. We see UK, Germany, and Japan offer enterprise licenses. So it's a very interesting time where governments are much ahead of the technology industries in providing or accelerating the adoption of 5G. If you were to ask me about the front runners, we think Industry 4.0, the education sector, defense, and retail industries are the top consumers of private 5G networks at this time. Let's go and see what we have to offer. Metaswitch has been acquired by Microsoft, so we are really excited about bundling in our capabilities with a wide range of applications and cloud platforms that Microsoft offers. So we hope to bring a very powerful bundle of capabilities to help accelerate this market. So what is 5G Edge? What we have done is we have taken our Metaswitch Fusion Core 5, which is a standard 5G next generation core, and optimized for the edge deployments. So let me take a step back for a moment and explain you what are the key components for 5G. So the first component is obviously the core network because it's a starting point for any networking. So the core network is where you define the network, where you define the identity of the network, You provision the subscribers, you provision the policies. It is a central control point and the control point that connects the radio access network to the applications. So from our perspective, the core network is a starting point for any 5G network. The next key component is the 5G Edge, or the Edge platform. The Edge platform is very critical for us because it provides you the low latency needs at the facility where these applications are being deployed. Not only does it provide higher performance, but it also provides reliability because you're not dependent on a backhaul or transport network behind you. It provides you the local control and the cost savings. So we believe that the best way to deploy private 5G is using edge platforms, which is something that Azure offers as part of the private edge zones. The other two components are obviously the radio access network. Our approach to that is to work with a wide range of partners on 4G and 5G standalone RAN to provide you the end-to-end solution. And obviously, as part of Microsoft, the final component is all the applications and available on the Azure Cloud, both on the edge and in the hyperscale clouds. Our mission statement in order to deliver our solution is to simplify the consumption of 5G. What that means is we fundamentally think the way 5G networks are deployed in the operator space for consumers, for large-scale networks, is fundamentally different from how enterprises consume technology. So in order to do that, we have come up with a fundamental set of innovations that we believe will help to the contribution of adoption of 5G. There are two ways to simplify 5G consumption. One is to offer you a bare bones product, or we believe the right approach is to provide you a premium high-performance product with powerful set of innovations that help you deliver the use cases that you need. Now, as Metaswitch becomes part of Microsoft, one of the key tenets of our Edge product is the go-to-market. The way we want to go to market is to enable operators and MSPs to serve the end enterprises. We believe in this partnership model. We will work with everyone, including the enterprises, to figure out what the right solution is, what the right go-to-market is. But our primary go-to-market is to enable or empower operators and MSPs to serve the enterprises. So let's jump into the product a little bit more. The first aspect of our product, the Fusion Core product, is we will provide a complete set of 5G core network functions to enable you to launch the network. In fact, one of the key innovations that we have patented is the native support of 4G access on the 5G core. What we have done is essentially fundamentally solve the problem of evolution. We recognize that the only access network out there that's available at a low cost is 4G, but we also know that everyone wants 5G standalone as soon as it's available. So instead of trying to invest in two different cores or a dual core technology, what we have done is come up with an interworking function that takes 4G access and plugs it into 5G core. So we have simplified the whole concept of evolution with our solution. We offer open interfaces towards both 4G and 5G standalone RAN partners, and we will work with a whole range of RAN vendors to provide you the best solution in your market. RAN selection is usually a complex thing because it depends upon the spectrum you have. It depends upon indoor versus outdoor spectrum, and there's different specification and power settings. So the best approach is to bring your own RAN go-to-market to deploy your network. The final aspect of our solution is that everything is containerized. So we manage the network, we deploy the network using Kubernetes. So it's built for automation and portability from day one. So to conclude on this chart, we have simplified the selection, the deployment, and the evolution of the core components so that you don't have to burden yourself in terms of putting the solution together. One of the biggest differentiators that we offer is we have invented a packet processing engine called CPPE. It has been created by Metaswitch over the last 3 years. And one of the biggest advantages is it provides the highest throughput as a containerized software on any commodity hardware. In this case, we are using x86 compute platforms from Intel. So one of the key benefits we get for the edge market is that we can actually put the entire 5G core into as small packaging as 4 physical CPUs or 8 vCPUs. We can optimize it further into 2 CPUs if required, or we can expand it or scale it up on demand through our containerized software. So essentially what you get as an enterprise or an MSP who is selling applications to enterprises is they can actually provide an appliance which also supports the RAN, open RAN technology like CU/DU on the same platform, and even bundle in key application capabilities on the same edge platform. So what we have done through this innovation is fundamentally simplify how you deploy, how you plan for compute, how you utilize compute, and how you grow. So we have taken that whole complexity away from you so that, again, you can simply deploy 5G networks in a heartbeat. Once you have deployed the network, the next thing is how do I run it? How do I operate it? So we have this whole set of managed service IQ management and automation tools that are broken down into monitoring, tracing, and automation. And the good news here is that we are using a lot of open source tools that a lot of the industry is familiar with. For example, on the monitoring side, we are using standard Grafana, Kibana toolsets, Prometheus, Elasticsearch, that a lot of people in the industry are familiar with. On the tracing side, we have a built-in tracing that is always on, that helps our enterprises and MSPs debug issues or do integration testing with RAN. And finally, on the deployment and configuration side, we are not only using Helm and Kubernetes tools, but we are tightly integrating them into the Azure portals to provide you the configuration simplicity that you will actually see in Rob's demo later on. So what we have also done, in addition to providing you the performance and the multi-access capability, is we have simplified the network deployment and operations on the edge. And you'll see a preview of that from Rob's demo. And finally, one of the frequently asked questions from our customers is, how do you control this? Where do you control these networks from? So the standalone networks can actually be controlled from either the local premise on the edge without needing any cloud capabilities. So this is really useful for scenarios like where the industrial applications like robotics who need complete dedicated networks without any interference from outside world, control and deliver the network locally. It's also useful for remote locations like mining and offshore oil fields or whatever it is where cloud connectivity is difficult to get. The most popular model is the middle one, where most of our enterprises expect to deploy private 5G into multiple sites, and they want a single point of control. So like I said, one of the innovations that we are working on closely with Azure is to integrate this tightly with the Azure Cloud management tools so that you can control multi-site single enterprise deployments from via the cloud. And obviously, many of our MSP partners are looking to differentiate by offering network as a service or provide operations capabilities over and above what we have in our product. So we offer open APIs so that they can be integrated into MSPs or operators' backend systems so that they can manage and control the network they want. This is really useful for enterprises who do not have the talent or do not want to build a domain expertise to manage these networks locally. With our standalone offering, we can really provide different control points and simplify that for the enterprises. So what does this all mean? In the end, it's like I said, our mission statement is to simplify the consumption of 5G by enterprises. So I want to hand this over to Rob, who can demonstrate the whole onboarding experience, starting with how he brings up the core on the cloud through the marketplace. He will then highlight some differences on when you're ready to deploy, how you can extend the deployment of the 5G core on Azure Stack Edge. And then once the network is deployed, he will give you a preview of tool sets. One is the service IQ monitoring using Grafana. And then he will also show you the tracing tool of a real system that's up and running with one of our RAN partners who is testing an end-to-end 5G standalone network. So over to you, Rob.
Thank you, Shub. So Fusion Core is a 5G packet core for the private edge, but we've also made it extremely easy for operators and integrators who are ready to start testing with 5G packet core to get started with Fusion Core now by making it available in the Azure Cloud. The entire process to spin up a brand new packet core in the cloud is fully automated and can be completed within minutes. And this creates a fully self-contained, dedicated packet core that operators and radio network vendors can use to connect their radio networks over a VPN and be ready for testing within minutes. And there's no hardware to ship or install, and this makes it extremely easy to get started with testing and reduces the configuration and setup time that would typically be needed to set up a new core from days or weeks to a few minutes. This is all available in the Azure Marketplace today, fully integrated with the Azure portal, and it creates a full deployment of the Fusion Core 5G packet core, including all of the components that you can see here in the center gray box. When connecting over the cloud, it also includes a VPN gateway that creates a VPN tunnel to connect to your radio network. All of these resources are created and deployed on demand within your Azure subscription and remotely managed by Metaswitch as needed. When deploying in the 4G interworking mode, there are some additional components that get created in the cloud also. The blue components shown here, these provide backwards compatibility for the Fusion Core packet core to connect to a 4G RAN when needed. And let me now show how easy it is to create a brand new packet core in the Azure cloud. So the starting point for creating a new packet core in the cloud is the Azure Marketplace. So search for Fusion Core or 5G packet core in the Azure Marketplace, and then choose the Metaswitch Fusion Core offer that is in the marketplace. There are 3 different steps to create the packet core. The first step is to choose a region. So choose a region that's close to your radio network. This helps to keep the latency low when connecting to your radio network. Create a new resource group for the resources to be created in, and give the deployment a name. And then the next set of settings is for the VPN tunnel that connects the packet core to your radio network. So here you'll put in VPN settings such as the public IP for the radio network side of the tunnel, and VPN settings such as the IKE protocol, and also the pre-shared key that you'll use to secure the tunnel, or just use the randomly generated secure value suggested by the wizard. And then the final set of settings is to configure the packet core with the 5G network settings that you want to use for your testing. So here you can select the type of radio that you're connecting to, a 5G or 4G radio network. You can set parameters such as the mobile country code and mobile network code. You can choose the MSIN range that you want to use with your SIM cards, set the UE authentication secrets that you want to use, and other 5G network settings such as network slicing or tracking area codes. Then you're ready to create the resources. This will spin up a brand new packet core in your subscription and create all of the necessary resources to connect to your radio network over the VPN tunnel. This takes a few minutes to create. Here's the resources that get created once everything is spun up and ready. So the entire 5G packet core is deployed on a single 4-core virtual machine in the cloud. It's a standard 4-CPU VM, 14 gig of memory. As well as the VM, all of the networking that's necessary for the connections are set up. Public IP addresses are assigned, and the VPN gateway is created. This makes it extremely easy to connect your radio network to a 5G packet core for testing, and there's no need to ship or install any equipment in order to get started with this. Once you're ready to move on to more in-depth performance testing or production use, then the next step is an on-site deployment. For example, deploying Fusion Core on an Azure Stack Edge server shown here, running in an Azure Private Edge Zone. Again, the entire packet core can be installed as a virtual network function running on the Azure Stack Edge server, and it uses SRIV-enabled network cards to provide up to 40 gigabits per second of throughput on a single 4-CPU instance, or this can be scaled up further if needed. Just like for the cloud deployment, all of the resources are integrated with the Azure portal and can be managed in the portal. This provides a simplified management experience. So here we have an Azure Stack Edge server that's deployed in one of our engineering labs in London. You can see the configuration is all viewable through the Azure portal. So for example, here's the networking on this device. The Fusion Core itself is deployed as a VNF. So again, all of these resources are viewable in the portal, makes it extremely easy to manage these. And you can see the provisioning state and other key information in the portal. Fusion Core's fully cloud native containerized packet core. It uses industry standard tools such as Grafana to monitor the deployment and view key metrics such as the UE registration rates, active sessions, throughput, packet rates, and so on. All of this is fully customizable using standard Grafana function and provides an overview of CPU resource utilization and anything else that you need to monitor your deployment. This particular example is one of our cloud instances running in the Azure cloud. but it uses the exact same dashboard in the on-site private edge zone version as well. All of this function is available today. Fusion Core is in active trials with both 4G radio networks, like the one shown in the Microsoft lab in Redmond here, and also in 5G deployments, such as the lab deployment seen here in one of our 5G radio partner labs. This also includes full end-to-end testing of the 5G standalone network. The Fusion Core includes a built-in protocol analyzer, which shows all of the end-to-end flows within the 5G control and user plane. So this lets us see all of the flows between the different components in the 3GPP 5G service-based architecture, which is fully implemented by Fusion Core. So here we can see, for example, the call flows for UE registration and PDU session setup in a 5G standalone network end-to-end. So here we see the registration coming in from the G-Node B. All of these flows are captured in full, and all of the packets can be inspected to view the flow of the call through all of the different components in the packet core. So this greatly simplifies integration and testing. This always-on diagnostics makes it very easy to see the flows, to see the user plane being programmed, to look at the different settings that are deployed, bit rates and so on. All of this is visible in the built-in diagnostics. So hopefully that gives a good flavor of how easy it is to deploy Fusion Core. All of this can be deployed in the cloud for initial testing within minutes, and all of this is available today. Shub, back to you.
Thank you, Rob, for the great demonstration. So hopefully you saw how easy and simple it is to bring up a 5G core, starting with the demo system on the cloud, which can get you going and start doing your RAN testing. Once you're ready to deploy, and once you have the ASC platform on site, you can extend that 5G core onto the ASC edge and bring up your 5G network with the RAN partner. I just want to conclude by highlighting some of the key differentiators that we offer. One is it is the smallest footprint edge product in the market that supports both 4G and 5G networks. And it has built-in tools for you that you're familiar with, like Grafana and built-in tracing tools that provides you all the visibility into the network performance. And you have open APIs to extend that operation capability into your backend tools and IT backend systems. So that's really how we are approaching this market. Hope you like it. I want to conclude this presentation by allowing you to reach out to us through our website, metaswitch.com/private5G. If you're brave enough, please go ahead and log into the marketplace and play with our 5G Edge core on the Azure Cloud. And once you're qualified and deploying the Azure ASC box, you can even start your deployment on the Private Edge Zone. And we hope you can essentially leverage these tools that we have available in addition to all the Azure toolkits and applications to really deploy and monetize new use cases and applications. And we look forward to learning your requirements as we go ahead. Thank you very much and appreciate your time today.